Thank you for joining us for today's Idaho Falls Rotary Club program. My name is Liza Leonard, and I'm filling in for our club president, Michelle Holt. Our club is really pleased to be able to continue our programming, and that is made possible through IE Productions, allowing us to come into their studio and film each week to put this online for your viewing. We just want to remind you that you can view this on Facebook Live or later on Facebook through the IF Luncheons page, or check out IE Productions' YouTube channel. For those of you that are joining that are not Rotarians, I just want to tell you a little bit more about who we are as a club. The Rotary Club is an international service organization, and our motto is service above self. Worldwide, there are approximately 1.2 million Rotarians. Locally, there are a number of regional Rotary clubs, and again, we are the Rotary Club of Idaho Falls. We've been around since 1918, and we're probably best known for some of our community projects like Green Belt Cleanup, Highway Cleanup, some of the exchange students that we sponsor annually. But our most well-known project is likely the Snake River Green Belt Duck Race, which we can't wait to get back to when it's safe in 2021. We are always accepting new members, and we would love to have you learn more about our club. Please feel free to check us out on our Facebook page or by visiting our website. There is no additional club business for the week, so we'll go ahead and jump right into today's program. It is my pleasure to introduce our July program chair, Damon Watkins. I'll now turn it over to him to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Liza. Good afternoon. Michelle Ball is one of those unique personalities that just makes you want to do better, to be more, learn more, and just raise the level of expectation you have of yourself. All of us have had the teachers that made learning fun, and Michelle is that kind of teacher, and I have witnessed firsthand the impact of Michelle's teaching practices as she has taught all 4 of my children. Her ability to access that region in my child's ability to far surpassed my ability as a parent. That's what good teachers do. And one of the architectural treasures of Idaho Falls is what is commonly referred to as the old O.E. Bell building. When Altruis moved into that incredible building, I thought how fortunate our community is to have education flowing through the halls of O.E. Bell again. Being able to preserve this historic value of the building and join a next generation academic model into an academic curriculum is truly a standard of excellence. Altruis isn't just another charter school. It has cracked the code in its method of adapting a learning model to a wide variety of youth who learn material differently and at a pace that varies. I'm pleased to present to you today Michelle Ball, accompanied with a few members of the leadership team at Altruis International Academy. Michelle.
Thanks so much, Damon. You just brought back a flood of memories of teaching your children and how much I love that, and what an inspiration your family has been to me, and what a support as well. I've been an educator for over 40 years, which most of them as a classroom teacher. I developed a program over many years by researching and implementing best practices in learning and education. My teaching career was one of the greatest highlights of my life, and I miss teaching every day, but I'm fortunate enough to be now with 566 students in Altruis that I get to go in a lot in classrooms and teach in small group instruction with them. So it's been an incredible journey for me. I want to thank the Idaho Falls Rotary and Damon Watkins for inviting us to speak about our innovative approach to education. We have an incredibly unique model or business plan that has built a strong community for our students to learn in an environment that is safe and engaging. It is our model, not the label such as STEM or STEAM, that is the foundation of our success. Even though we are an international baccalaureate world school and it incorporates our philosophy, it is the model of small group instruction at instructional levels in a safe, collaborative, engaging environment that has created a strong community for our educational successes. What an amazing journey it is to be co-founder of Altruis International Academy. a journey I never thought that I would go on, but it's been such a privilege. I am beyond grateful for the incredible community of people whose work, dedication, and dreams created a school that empowers students to achieve at their highest potential and make a difference in the world they live in. It takes a village to create a strong educational community. And what a village we have. Teachers with growth mindsets who have incorporated an educational philosophy that embraces strong student engagement and collaboration and who go above and beyond. Joe and Catherine Albertson's living legacy of a love for education and this support that gave us the opportunity to buy the OE Bell building and bring it back to its educational spirit. Bloom's wealth of knowledge. Building Hope's creative initiatives to purchase OE Bell, and Bill Rigby's fortitude to save this historical structure. A school board that cares deeply about our community and understands that education is the foundation of creating a strong democracy. And the parents and students who believe in our vision for a change for education. Our success and waiting list of over 600 students is because this motto taps into the way students naturally learn. Every decision we make at Alturas is centered around what is best for students to achieve at their highest potential and support the community they live in. Students are empowered to recognize that their successes is determined by their own fortitude and their own work ethic, and we as educators are accountable to give them the tools and confidence to be responsible for their learning. As a culture, we work to embrace that learning is a right and a privilege. We want our students to go forward without limits, to understand and use their gifts to create a better world. We want every single one of our students to be the very best they can be and understand that life and learning is full of challenges, and it's the struggles that help us grow. Find, understand, and appreciate our talents, and use education to build a better, more understanding, and a more respectful world. Our teachers will affirm, and they do affirm, the right to be different and the need for members of different cultures to respect one another as well as find our commonality. As educators, we enlighten our students that differences in viewpoints and cultures are to be appreciated and analyzed rather than to be judged and feared. The Academy seeks to support, educate, and inspire every student to think critically and collaboratively, value learning, and recognize their common humanity and shared stewardship of the planet. As an international baccalaureate world school, our students are inspired to be lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and global citizens. We have a profound understanding that humans are natural inquirers. They want to learn and explore in an environment that is safe and engaging. We are developing growth mindsets in our students where they embrace the struggle and understand that the struggle is part of the journey that brings tremendous growth in their learning and education. Teaching is student-centered, and curriculum is focused on imparting knowledge as well as teaching students to be caring, principled, reflective, balanced, open-minded, inquirers, risk-takers, and thinkers. Children deserve to be taught at their instructional levels to achieve an education that is rigorous and engaging. When students are taught at instructional levels, they can reach their highest potential of learning as well as being leaders and strong mentors. In every Alturas classroom, instruction is provided in small groups at instructional levels. We believe that categorizing students by grade levels limits their ability to reach their highest potential. Students constantly collaborate with their partners and group members. They are taught the importance of taking ownership of their own education and supporting their classmates. Through small group instruction, learning, the students foster analytical and critical thinking skills and explore real-life world problems where every member of the group contributes. They collaborate, question, and discover the world around them. The multi-age classroom is a unique style of teaching that provides student support through peer mentoring and peer collaboration. Another positive aspect to the multi-age classroom is that students will remain with the same teacher for up to 3 years. This allows teachers to learn students' strengths and needs and to meet students' needs across an extended period of time. In classroom, the teacher primarily acts as a facilitator to help students become independent, collaborative learners. Our teachers teach with our students, not at them. They never sit down throughout the day as they are constantly engaged with their students. They go from one instructional group to another fluidly as students independently take responsibility and guide their learning. Emphasis is placed on the classroom as a collaborative, safe, and supporting environment. The mission of Alturas is to be part of a revolution in education in the state of Idaho. No revolution is easy, and no revolution is without struggle. As we have had many schools observe Alturas, they are overwhelmed at the high levels of student engagement, and they see what is possible when students are given accountability and control of their learning. In the end, what students and teachers believe about themselves as learners is especially important in this process. Individuals who believe that their talents can be developed through challenging work, good strategies, and input from others have a growth mindset. Having a growth mindset is essential in this model, and understanding that making mistakes, respecting, and analyzing others' opinions is part of the learning process. Alturas International Academy is committed to developing a solid foundation. Teaching excellence is gained through the engagements and collaboration and developing 21st century skills of communication, collaboration, critical and creative thinking. Our program inspires to make learning relevant, teach through discipline, develop higher level thinking skills, promote teamwork as a process, and incorporate technology as a learning tool. In the end, our commitment to our vision is unwavering. Our mission statement strongly reflects our goals and achievements. Alturas International Academy promotes academic distinction while empowering students to be principled and intellectual leaders as they explore, create, investigate, and analyze in a safe, engaged, collaborative environment that inspires them to make a genuine difference in their local and global community. At this time, I would like to introduce leaders at Alturas who have had a high impact on our success. Jennifer Radford, our science teacher, who brings her science lessons to life and has such a love for her subject. She has embraced this model, and her commitments to her students is outstanding. Dana Kroos, our IB Primary Years Coordinator, who was crucial in our international baccalaureate authorization, whose love, belief, dedication, and mentoring has enhanced our culture and community beyond. Reese Dracula, MYP coordinator, his leadership for IB authorization this year was inspirational. As Brian Bingham transitions to the high school principal, Reese will be in a mentoring program this year to be the K-5 principal at Alturas International Academy. Brian Bingham, Alturas' principal, whose partnership, open-mindedness, and collaborative style of leadership has brought Alturas' journey to new heights. Our thoughtful collaboration has brought us to common goals that have enhanced the community at Alturas in so many ways. His partnership on this journey has made a world of difference. And right now, I would like to introduce you to Jen Radford.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Radford, and I teach middle school science. And I wanted to share with you our unique culture that we have to offer at Alturas. When I began looking for a job as a teacher, I started working as a substitute for our local school districts. I decided to tour, in a way, all of the different schools so I could see which one would be a fit for me. My goal was to work at each school within the district. I have friends who teach in our local districts, and I thought what an amazing experience it would be to have the opportunity to teach with my teachers. But I interviewed for a position at a traditional high school, and I was actually offered a job 1 hour before Mr. Bingham invited me to join Alturas. And my heart was very conflicted, but I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I went ahead and joined Alturas. Shortly after that, when we were in orientation at Alturas, I was offered another position, and this position was at a school that I thought was my dream job. So then I became even more conflicted, like, am I really making the right choice? And I reminded myself that I'm taking a chance. I'm going to be a risk taker. I'm going to try something different. But every day, I truly questioned whether that was the right decision. But during Christmas break, I had the opportunity to go to lunch with several of my friends, and we discussed how our year was progressing in our classrooms. My friends talked about how they needed supplies for their classrooms and their schools could not provide them. They talked about how they needed support for student behavior. They needed help collaborating with parents. They needed a team that would support them and encourage their growth. When it was my turn to share, I explained how amazing my school was. I needed microscopes. My school provided them. I am able to collaborate daily with teachers and our administration, as well as our parents, to solve problems to best serve our students. I also bragged a little bit about how kind my students are. They are exceptionally kind to one another, and they're also exceptionally kind to Alturas staff. I then realized that I had definitely made the right decision. Alturas is the change that students and teachers need today to be successful. And now my friends in the other districts would like to join me at Alturas. At Alturas, we are collaborative in making decisions. I began learning the Alturas way from Brian and Michelle. Michelle invited me to the school to collaborate and discuss the curriculum that I wanted to teach. I was able to express that I felt science should be hands-on. It should be engaging, and the students should look forward to being in my classroom. Michelle was open to listen to all of my ideas, and she gave me a list of curriculum to choose from. In a traditional school, I would have been handed a textbook and said, "Here, teach this." Our administrators are very hands-on, and they are in our classrooms frequently. Our local school districts our teachers rarely have the support of administration daily. At Alturas, teachers are given feedback often to encourage our growth. We have a growth mindset that we teach our students to also have a growth mindset. In other schools, teachers are only observed one time for 15 minutes and often receive very little feedback. Sometimes Brian and Michelle can offer ideas in our classrooms, whether it be seating arrangements or our class structure or advice on how to encourage certain students to grow. At first, when Brian and Michelle would enter my class, I felt very nervous and very uncomfortable. But over time, I quickly learned they liked to watch me learn and grow the same way that I love to watch my students grow. While they're in our classrooms, sometimes they support students, sometimes they join a lesson, sometimes, if we're really lucky, Michelle will even share a life lesson story with our students. Now, as they enter our rooms, my students and myself are very excited to have their presence, and I always look forward to their feedback on how I can grow and become a better educator. Our school is extremely unique because of our culture. As a mother of high school students, I wish my children could experience the learning environment that we provide. When you enter a traditional middle school or high school, you often hear students cussing. You hear gossiping, and sometimes they're even belittling or picking on fellow students. When you enter Alturas, you are met with kind students who are open-minded and who are genuine in their hearts about serving the community that they live in. The culture at Alturas is so successful because of our leadership. Our administration works very well with each other, our teachers, our parents, and even our local community. They express compassion and kindness while they encourage us all to grow. This culture is modeled to our staff, and then the staff, we model it to our students, and our students model it to each other. It becomes a very healthy, happy, positive environment. As a community, we can create a world full of citizens who are kind, compassionate leaders. I would like to share a story that demonstrates our culture. My first year at Alturas, I met a young man who was scared. He had been belittled and picked on in his previous school, but he also had all of these amazing talents and skills that he had not seen quite yet. In my classroom, my students loved his differences, so much so that they would ask to work with him. I was amazed by how this student, who in a traditional school would be an outcast, but in my classroom and in our school, he was seen for his gifts and his talents. He loved to tell jokes, he loved to make you smile, and he also was an incredible friend. He started to love school, and his confidence grew exponentially. He began to love learning and inquiry. He asked the most amazing questions. His parents were so grateful and so thankful to see him in a lunchroom sitting with his friends. They were so appreciative to be able to see that he could participate in sports, that he had been invited to many social engagements outside of school. In fact, so many sometimes he felt bad because he had to turn people down. So this young man went from feeling invisible to feeling like a star in our community. He was friends with every single student in our middle years program, and he stole all of our hearts. Sorry. Before Alturas, he felt insecure, and now all he can see is his strengths. This is why school, community, and culture is absolutely critical for student success. I would like to invite you to listen to Dana now as she shares a little bit more about our primary years program. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dana Kroos, and I'm a teacher and PYP coordinator at Alturas. Thank you for this opportunity to share about the great things that are happening at Alturas. It is so exciting to be a part of something I believe is actually making a difference and truly a change for education. I'm thankful to see it on a daily basis and be a part of growing and changing students' lives. Michelle Ball invited me on this journey about 4 years ago when it began. I had been a sub in her classroom, and I attributed that wonderful learning environment to her being a phenomenal teacher, which she really is. But I really wasn't sure that I could duplicate it. She promised me just follow what she said, and we could create more classrooms like hers with a strong community and a love for learning. And that's exactly what we've done at Alturas. We have a school full of students and teachers that collaborate with a strong sense of community and a real genuine sense and love of learning. At Alturas, we're developing critical thinkers, teaching students how to think, not what to think. Our model creates student-driven learners, which naturally is going to lead to engaged learners. And when students become self-driven and engaged, the obvious result will be a great love for learning. So how do we create this engaged love for learning? It begins with a solid framework and model, and to be honest, a lot of hard work. But our model is very front-loaded, and initially we have to seriously invest in training our students how to be thinkers, how to collaborate, how to talk about their learning, and how to own their learning. But once our model's in place, it's the best thing ever, because I keep my students for 3 years, so when they come back each year, they're ready to go, and they know the expectations, they know how to learn. Keep in mind, this model is in place in every classroom in our building and throughout our PYP and MYP programs. And so even when the students move on to 4th and 5th grade, they know what to expect, they know the model, they know the framework, and they're already ready to learn. Our model also involves a strong routine with lots of patterning and consistency. Students will come in every day and they work through math or reading routines in their small groups, which their groups are formed on their instructional level. And then while they're working in their groups, I go from group to group, giving lessons and discussions about their learning. And the beauty of this is, from the small group lessons and discussion, I know exactly where every student is, and every student has an opportunity to engage and talk about their learning. Teaching traditionally it's impossible to engage every student in a class of 24 students with whole group instruction. Another important aspect of our model at Alturas are the IB learner profiles. These are the 10 attributes we teach and encourage students to practice and apply in their learning. They include attributes such as be caring, be an inquirer, be a communicator, be open-minded, be balanced, be principled. These attributes really become our model for discipline, which is pretty minimal because the students are owning all of it. We can easily have a conversation with a struggling student or situation and can simply ask, well, which IB profile could we use in this situation? And then lastly, I want to share a brief example of our model in action with a former student. I got this student in the 3rd grade from another school, and he was told he was a bit of a behavior problem and a struggler, and come to find out he was reading at kindergarten level, thus explaining the behavior problems. So I placed him in a small group, and this was a mixed group of 1st graders, some 2nd graders, and he began to learn to read and was no longer frustrated with learning because I was able to teach him at his instructional level, which would have never happened in a traditional 3rd grade classroom. The class as a whole embraced him and supported him where he was, and the behavior problems disappeared, and by the end of the year, he was at 3rd grade reading level. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I hope you've gotten just a glimpse of the great things happening at Alturas, as well as our passion and enthusiasm for the change in education that's taking place there.
Hello, and thank you for allowing us to speak to you today. I will be talking about our MYP, or Middle Years Program, that is offered at Alturas. I guess you can kind of think of this in more of a traditional sense of just a middle school if you're thinking of it that way, but I'm going to speak today about what makes our MYP program more unique in our southeastern Idaho area. To start off, I want to kind of speak more about a personal story growing up. Growing up, I always struggled with math and English, and in fact, most of the time in my 5th and 6th grade classes, I would often get pulled out to get that additional reading time. Reflecting back on my middle school experiences, I often felt lesser than my peers. I specifically remember sitting in English class in middle school multiple times feeling so lost about what was going on, what the teacher was teaching. And there was this notion, and I think there still is this notion, that every student could be taught the same thing and that they could all learn the same thing in a traditional class full of possibly 30 students. I would get called up to write on the projector in this English class, write grammatically correct sentences with correct sentence structure. I need to highlight verbs, pronouns, know the difference between a simple versus a complex sentence. And, I just wasn't there. I would get terrified every time I had to walk up. And even with math, just because I wasn't on the same level as my peers. And so I guess I would try my best not to get noticed in my class periods. I would have given anything during that time of my life to go to a school like Alturas and our middle years program that is offered. As a student, you are taught instruction at a level that you can take and continue to grow. As a student, you have confidence in what you are doing, not only because you have the support of a teacher, but of a partner and a whole table group. As a student, you have the tools to be successful. No one is treated lesser because we expect everyone to value and uphold the IB profile that Dana spoke of earlier. You just learn to love learning. When we, as school leaders and teachers, see something not in line with our caring expectations for one another, it is stopped or talked about to foster a positive environment. Everyone has a chance at success, like Jen mentioned previously. I have not seen a middle school program in our area build such an inclusive environment for their students. I'd also like to talk about another aspect of our MYP program that makes us unique in this area, and that is our involvement in the International Baccalaureate program, which I refer to as IB. IB values and attempts to provide students with the skills, values, and knowledge to create a better and more peaceful world. Students learn to take responsibility for their own learning and are highly encouraged to think critically, to ask challenging questions and develop an analytical research skill that they will need to be successful in any of today's careers and ever-changing world. Alturas is now a currently full authorized IB school that can offer IB courses to students kindergarten through 8th grade. In the MYP, students build on what they have developed in the PYP and add more depth to what they can do. IB is not an easy program. As a student, you must think analytically about challenging concepts and subjects. They do not rely on their teacher as the ultimate source of knowledge. They guide themselves in the exploration to knowledge, and the teacher, through small group instruction at instructional level, facilitates and guides students in the right direction. Students can truly feel confident in their education because they are learning and growing at their level in a challenging yet supportive environment. This is Alturas, and this is IB. IB also encourages students to think of their education differently. IB encourages students to be active in their communities and to take their learning beyond just academic study. Our classes in the MYP are project-based. Students have many numerous opportunities throughout the year to be active local and global citizens. Just our most recent example was our Building of the Community project, which is a component of the International Baccalaureate. Our students, up to COVID happening, were preparing to update and renovate our local YMCA facility. The YMCA offers so much support to our community and the families that live within our community. Our students knew that we needed to support this organization. And we needed to help them with the renovations that they needed to be successful for many more years. Other examples come from project nights that are a part of our PYP and MYP programs at Alturas. Students showcase their learning in the classroom in the form of a project, which is presented to families and the community. And often these projects reach to establish a support within the community. I have a few recent examples that I can share with you. Just recently, we had a student that started a community garden in Ammon after learning about botany. We also had our school at Alturas transformed into Ellis Island to teach families about immigration in the United States after students had studied about it. We had students from our visual arts class create artworks and auction them off to support our local animal shelter. Our students every year put on a carnival that is created based off their economics unit. This past carnival raised money for the Red Cross. Our students have created also, in addition, fundraisers to help build, for example, wells in Africa after reading A Long Walk to Water. Many of our projects over time, of them, our students have raised over $10,000 to support local and global issues. Just as Jen and Dana and Michelle have mentioned, when I think of my time at Alturas, I can't help but think of the students and the culture they help build. My years at Alturas, I can't tell you how sad students get when they actually have to leave the MYP program at Alturas. One student in particular who could often be viewed as hard to teach at times broke down towards the end of one year. He stated how much he would miss his support, how much he would miss being a part of this program and this culture that we have developed at Alturas. But I knew that he was prepared to take on those challenges as he moved into high school. And there's so many more stories of students just like that have really loved the program at Alturas. As we continue to expand, we will continue to expand the success into high school. Our current principal, Brian Bingham, will now speak to you about the future of Alturas and our high school plans.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank Damon Watkins and the Rotary Club for asking us to come and share with you what things we've been able to do at Alturas International Academy over the past couple of years. As you can see, we've got a great staff and faculty team that really supports our vision and mission and working towards being the change in education. My name is Brian Bingham, and I am the current principal of Alturas International Academy. And as Michelle stated, I will transition to Alturas Preparatory Academy when we open up, which we anticipate to be in the fall of 2021. When I decided to become an educator over 10 years ago, I did so like many other educators because of my passion and desire to help the younger generation. Before my time as principal, I taught Spanish at a local high school. I loved teaching and coaching. Through my classroom in the different athletic fields, I felt that I was able to create an environment where students were accepted and appreciated. But many students had shared with me that that wasn't the case in all of their classes. I saw flaws and issues with the system, but they were nobody's fault. As a teacher, I would oftentimes get on my figurative soapbox and tell my students that they should be less concerned about grades and more concerned about learning. Although the subject I taught was Spanish, what I really wanted my students to learn was how to become good people, to become citizens that were honest, hardworking, critical thinkers, and caring. So when I decided to further my education, become an administrator, I did so knowing that I had a long road ahead of me. Upon graduation, I set out, looking for an opening that would allow me to create a change for education, a change to help students develop holistically, not just academically. I first met Michelle Ball at a job fair after graduating with my master's degree. We discussed our educational philosophies, and they were surprisingly aligned. She didn't believe in grade levels. She believed students needed to be taught at their instructional levels, not their biological age levels. And her focus was on creating an environment where students felt accepted and understood. I was impressed, yet hesitant. I had been in a traditional district and didn't understand the ins and outs of how charters worked. I interviewed multiple times with Michelle and the board of directors, each time feeling like it was a great opportunity. However, I kept looking elsewhere. After interviewing several times with the traditional school district and making it down to be one of the last 2 candidates, I wasn't offered the job. I called the principal of the traditional school to thank him for interviewing me. He'd asked if I had any other job leads. I responded by telling him about Michelle and Alturas International Academy. But I also shared about my hesitancies of it being a charter. He then asked me a question that forever shaped my career. He asked me what it was that I wanted to accomplish. I told him that I always wanted to open up a school and be a change for education. His response was, "Isn't that what you'd be doing at Alturas?" Needless to say, I ended up making the choice to join Alturas and Michelle. I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to be in the field of education and to make a difference by expanding to an already successful model up through high school. As we have all experienced these past couple of months, they've been challenging. Employees, business owners, schools, and other entities all had to learn how to work or learn remotely. Many of you understood what your work expectations were and were able to transition to working remotely almost seamlessly. Our students also understood what was expected of them, and many of them transitioned smoothly. Our program and framework provided a level of understanding of the expectations that students felt empowered and motivated to accomplish the work. They understood what was expected of them, and this facilitated their success. After reviewing a recent parent survey, the overwhelming majority of parents appreciated what we were able to accomplish during the closure due to COVID. As we plan for reopening this fall, we plan to do so cautiously, always keeping in the forefront of our mind the health and well-being of our students and community members. As has already been shared, Alturas International Academy is the first international baccalaureate authorized world school in southeast Idaho with grades kindergarten through 8th grade. One of our goals is to extend the International Baccalaureate program and to be able to offer the IB programs through grades 12. The last 2 years of a student's education are fundamental to their success. Through the IB program, Alturas Prep will offer both the diploma program as well as the career-related program in grades 11 and 12. The International Baccalaureate Diploma Program is recognized and respected by the world's leading universities and higher education institutions. Evidence suggests that the higher rates of DP students go on to the university and higher education students study than non-IB students. Research show that IB students were twice as likely to go on to the college the first year after graduation and were also more likely to remain at college through the second year. Through the DP program, students are able to obtain up to 30 college credits, which provides a solid foundation for future higher education success. Alturas Prep will also offer the career-related program. The CP is a framework of international education that incorporates the values of the IB into a unique program addressing the needs of students engaged in a career-related education. Through the CP, students deepen their understanding of general areas of knowledge, engaging in a holistic education model that fosters an enthusiasm for lifelong learning. Our goal with Alturas International and Alturas Prep is to provide an environment where all students thrive and succeed. We accomplish this through creating a culture where all differences are appreciated and understood. School can be a difficult thing for many students, and oftentimes they struggle, whether socially, emotionally, or academically. We have proven at Alturas International Academy that we can create a true difference in an individual student's life by establishing a strong community in the classroom as well as the school. I wanted to share a quick story about one of our many students' successes. A few years ago on the first day of school, we had an assembly for our middle school students. As I walked into the gym, I saw a young man sitting in the back with his hood on by himself. I went up to him and introduced myself to him and asked him to remove his hood. He resisted at first, but after being persistent, he begrudgingly removed his hood, and I welcomed him to Alturas. That was my first interaction with him. Throughout the year, this student began to blossom, both academically as well as socially. His peers accepted his differences, and they showed they cared and respected him. At the end of the year, he gave a presentation on his learning in one of the project nights that have become a staple to the students of Alturas. That night, not only did he shine academically, but socially as well. He had gained a confidence that he had never experienced in his education career. Through giving lessons on the IB learner profile and by having students collaborate and share their learning with one another, we have tapped into the natural way students learn. All of us have chosen education as a profession because we want to make a true difference in each individual's life. And at Alturas International, I believe we have accomplished that hefty goal. That is why we are working on expanding with Alturas Preparatory Academy to be able to provide that same culture and environment to all of our students up through the time that they graduate. We look forward to being able to collaborate with members of the Rotary Club as well as local businesses and community members. I thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to your support, which we will need in order to create this innovative high school and be a strong change for education in our local community as well as throughout the state and beyond. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle, Brian, these wonderful educators. We're so happy to hear from you, and it's just encouraging to know that there's another wonderful option for students in our area to get such a quality education. And also to hear that it sounds like we might have some future Rotarians as students right now in Alturas. So many of the values and projects that keep those kids engaged are so aligned with what Rotary's mission is as well. So it's wonderful to hear that we have kids getting that at this young age. I also just want to give you a quick preview of what we are going to present for next week's program. Damon Watkins, again, is our program chair for the month of July. And next week, he has lined up for us to have the opportunity to hear from Carl Taylor and Travis Garza with Kayani. It's been several months since the tragic accident that took the lives of two of the founders of this East Idaho company, as well as some of their family members. And both Carl and Travis will come and provide our audience with a bit of an update on how the company has adapted since that horrific loss. And they will also provide us with insight on the company's citizenship during the global pandemic. Our community is fortunate to have so many companies like Kayani that have stepped up to respond to the negative impact of COVID-19. We look forward to that program, and we look forward to you joining us. Thank you so much.